Hi, I'm David. I'm from OT Focus, and today I'm just going to talk to you about why I decided to be an occupational therapist. Right out of grad school, I was thinking about the medical field, and I was actually thinking maybe I should be a doctor, go to med school. I actually shadowed like an ER doctor and some other doctors, and I just didn't have like a great experience doing it. And then after going to OT school, I felt like even more confident and glad that I didn't choose to go the MD route. And even after I graduated, I felt the same way just because like the job is so stressful. There's so much responsibility. There's just in the hospital, and maybe it's not like this in every setting, but like in the hospital world where I was working, just a lot of doctors got a bad rap. I mean, nurses kind of talk bad about them, therapists kind of talk bad about them. Um, and then just the patients like were always upset that they weren't seeing their doctor, and I just didn't want that. And I definitely feel like it's probably different if you're doing a lot of surgeries, or maybe if you're doing anesthesiology or something, or radiology where you're not seeing as much patients. But it just kind of gave me a bad taste in my mouth, and I'm just so glad that I ended up doing OT. I think if you're going to go to the medical field and you want to do something to help people, for me it's not nursing and it's not being a doctor. Like for me it's being an OT, because OT is so different in that you get to spend so much more one-on-one time with the patients. Nurses don't even get that one-on-one time because they have so many patients that they have to take care of throughout the day. Same with doctors. They're running from patient to patient literally just to keep up with them. As a physical or occupational or speech therapist, we're spending like that one-on-one time with the patients. We're we're going in and just spending like an hour. If we're in a rehab setting, we're spending an hour and a half. What's really cool about OT is we work on cognition. So we actually work on issues of like our patients going through depression, and like what coping skills we can teach them and help them through this difficult time through the hospital. So it can be really a really rewarding career. So in 2009, I graduated with a degree in international cultural studies, and I really felt like there wasn't a whole lot that I could do with it at the time. I mean, it was during the recession. A lot of things were kind of crazy, and so I was like, I think I'm just going to get a degree in the medical field. So I think it was really helpful that my sister was actually, she was like part of the payroll department at a skilled nursing facility. So she kind of introduced me into OT and PT, and kind of just let me know that like what the pay was like, which was interesting to me at the time, just kind of looking for a job. Um, and then after that, I just started looking into it more, and I saw that the University of Utah had a refugee resettlement program. And the refugee resettlement program is what really piqued my interest. I learned that there was occupational therapists that were just helping different people from different refugees from around the world resettle and get used to their environment. For example, if they had an environmental change, like just moving to a new country, learning how to use the bus system, occupational therapists could train these individuals on transportation, or how to apply for financial aid, how to apply for different programs so they could get the assistance that they needed, and also kind of direct them in the right route for their cultural needs, where to find the type of foods that they would eat, or maybe just kind of connect them to different social groups, just a group of people that might have the same language as them. As a new grad in international cultural studies, this was really intriguing to me to be a part of the refugee resettlement program. So I ended up applying at the University of Utah, because this is the only place I knew that had this program. And it kind of surprised me that they weren't really pushing that during my initial tour of the program. And when I was asking questions, they didn't really, they were kind of just saying that this isn't really what occupational therapy is. And so I kind of got a little bit discouraged by that, but I kind of kept it in the back of my mind if it was something I wanted to do later. What I ended up doing is I started shadowing occupational therapists, and I knew that the pay in a decent amount of settings was pretty well. So I started shadowing and getting more experience. I actually shadowed at a mental health facility, and I found it to be very different than what I was used to. Um, just dealing with patients with bipolar and schizophrenia, and it was really weird. We would play hangman with these patients. the next setting that I shadowed was in rehab. And I kind of got bored of rehab, and I was like, this isn't really that interesting. Um, so if you're a new grad or if you're interested in occupational therapy, I wouldn't recommend shadowing rehab right off the bat. I would actually recommend shadowing a variety of different settings, whether it's mental health or hand therapy, because right after I got out of rehab, I met a hand therapist and he said, come to my clinic, check it out. You might have a completely different perspective of what occupational therapy is. So I went to his clinic, and it was an outpatient clinic, right? So the patients actually wanted to be there, which was different from the rehab setting because it's kind of like they have to be there because it's an inpatient setting. So I went to this hand therapy clinic and I saw the group of patients there, and it was just it was really cool to see kind of OTs doing kind of like physical therapy for the hand, right? And they were actually making like custom splints, which was really intriguing to me. So that kind of got my foot in the door. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go full throttle and go ahead and just start applying for OT schools. That was kind of my experience with shadowing, and then I just applied. I got into the first school I actually applied to in Toro University, and it was definitely hard getting into the master's program. And then I graduated, and right afterwards I started working in Nevada, where I was able to make a lot more money than most occupational therapists. So if you're interested at all in OT, like check out my blog at otfocus.com. I talk about salary, I talk about what it's like being an OT, hand therapy. So just go ahead and check out my blog because there's a lot more information about it there. And I do plan on coming out with some new courses soon on occupational therapy. So subscribe to my newsletter from that on otfocus.com. I would say if you're starting out, look into shadow as many settings as you can, like especially if pediatrics is your thing, like shadow pediatric occupational therapists. The more experience you have, the better, because like this is something you're going to end up doing for the rest of your life if this is your career. So I would just do as much as you can.